Ah Pook is here. Ah Pook is the Mayan god of death, but unlike the medieval Christian conception of death, Ah Pook was not regarded by the Mayans as purely negative and destructive, but simply as a stage of life, making way for rebirth and regeneration. This book concerns an American billionaire who is obsessed by a desire for immortality. He discovers lost Mayan books containing some of the basic secrets of life and death, and uses this knowledge to set up a rather ill-advised control machine. Train whistle, train in lunar landscape of northern Mexico. Cut to Mr. Hart's private car, books spread out on a table. He is reading the books laboriously from a Spanish key. Now here's the young corn god turning into death. When I die, I become death. Death is the seed from which I grow. Now this dying to produce oneself sounds awfully hit and miss to canny young heart. Obsessed by his desire for immortality, he does not grasp the full significance of this simple survival formula, nor the seeds of disaster it contains.
A popular topic in Silicon Valley is talking about what year humans and machines will merge, or if not, what year humans will get surpassed by rapidly improving AI or genetically enhanced species. Although the merge has already begun, it's going to get a lot weirder. There's that word. We will be the first species ever to design our own descendants. My guess is that we can either be the biological bootloader for digital intelligence and then fade into an evolutionary tree branch, or we can figure out what a successful merge looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's important to emphasize that I'm using this as a model for thinking, a pattern, an archetype, if you will, rather than something specific about second century curious Christians. But the idea boiled down to its sort of mythic core, the idea of gnosis is that there's an order of knowledge that is transcendent to the world that we live in, and that often the world that we live in is seen as a mistake or a trap even, perhaps even constructed by a lower or evil deity. So the idea shifts. If you imagine the Christian story is sin and redemption, the Gnostic story is ignorance and awakening, or ignorance and knowledge, kind of higher knowledge. We got to get out of here, and the only way out is up. And one of the points that I made in Technosis is, not unlike Oak Giblin's book, where there are these religious structures and metaphors that recur with such intensity that we have to look at them as such. We can't just say, it's just sort of, it kind of resembles this thing. Who cares? That was then. This is now. And the Gnostic flavor is a kind of denigration of matter, of the conventional reality of our bodies, and a willingness to put all your cards in some higher order. So the exuberant embrace of the idea of uploading ourselves into computers, which starts becoming a kind of a cultural point of singularitarian ideas in the 1990s or 80s, even though you can trace the idea back farther. That's a good sign of that kind of attitude and that sort of willingness to disidentify with our material conditions in a kind of transcendent mode. So, and then what you can imagine happening is, rather than having it be some kind of spiritual transcendence, is that it gets mutated, if you will, into a technological possibility on the forward timeline. So rather than having it be something that I can transcend now through various esoteric practices, instead it's something that's adhering in the technological development is going to produce a moment in the future of something like transcendence. I think it's really important to acknowledge the similarities, because I think it's really important at this stage in the game to intensify, deepen our sense of what the human is by embracing the whole course of what we've come through.
out. They get good, safe as that one. Here, 8% of I don't keep it. See, it's good, right? And we'd be like fruit trees out there, produce things. But each one of us has a gift to give freely. Now, after this purification, if I invent something, you can take it and use it. And if you invent something, I can take it. I don't have to struggle to pay to get it. It'll be free. So that's the way it's going to be from their own government or principles. Yet, you can't stop these things. Then these purifiers would have to do it with power and might, because Great Spirit gives them all the power to develop. Now, then whoever comes out, he will meet the Great Spirit again, because here I found in the Bible, another said that I'm the first here. I have taken care of this land, I'll let you take care of it. I give instruction, I'll go away for a while, and let you go on your way. Now,
Whereas the desire you hear in a lot of these voices is all that is just junk. It's all BS. We're at this one inflection point of evolution, and we either jump on it or we don't. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe we have unleashed an apocalyptic situation, but at the very least, we got to take it all on board. It's the whole story. All of the human experience is sort of demanded at these kinds of points. And again, it might not work out. It might be in 10 years we look back at this and go, oh boy, we were huffing the glue. I don't think so, but it's possible. But that still is not, that doesn't undermine what I'm saying, because it's about, in a way, embodying the density and resonances of human beings and all of our relations at a point when the fundamental question of the human is raised in our face, culturally wide, in a big way.
I think there's one version where these systems simply top out, the technology ends, fine. I think there's another one, though, which you're getting at in one of your recent pieces on the potential banality of all this, which is you're dealing with models trained on what we've already said and thought and done that is in a protean genre imitating way, mimicking it back at us. And so very far from making the future unbelievably different than the past, what it will do is make the future more like the past. It will be a boundary on human creativity and change and transformation. You write, far from serving away from a norm, these systems make the future by conservatively iterating the past. Even the apparent creativity of large language models relies on the novel shuffling of a gargantuan deck of cards that already exists. So I think that's another way of thinking about what might fail here, that instead of being an opening to something totally different, right, completely unpredictable, it's actually a narrowing to the completely predictable, literally built on prediction engines.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there something else going on in our own experience? It's so clear that we are not just predicting, that we're not just looping, that there is a space of novelty and of potential creativity, of wrestling with possibilities that is so intrinsic to how we operate that it's very difficult to imagine collapsing that and leading towards something productive and something interesting. And what does that look like on a culture-wide basis as we get used to enjoying cultural products that are produced by large language models and the way in which they recirculate? Because you can cynically say, well, that's already kind of happening. You look at popular music. What is popular music? Is it like incredible acts of generative novelty? No, it's more like mixes and matches of things and a little bit of action thrown in, a little bit of shifting here. So it's possible that reshuffling the deck over and over again, the deck is big enough, there's still going to be enough novelty to entertain us, let's say. But it's hard to sort of square that with any more expanded view of what cultural products do for us, or cultural works, great literature, great movies, whatever, that it's hard to see it simply as an iterative process, that there's some other dimension to those products. And are we actually getting to a place where we start to recognize that less and less, that it's sufficient to simply be entertained by the reshuffled deck? Or is it just going to be clear that there is this kind of difference that we're losing?
Well, this gets to the third, or one of the third layers of weirdness that I think you get in this piece that I found was really beautiful, which is I would call it a turning around of the question, right? This idea that maybe it's not AI that's weird at all. Maybe AI is banal, or if not predictable, it's a thin training on human data that what's weird is human beings. And that the real thing that's going to get highlighted here, ultimately, is not the weirdness of the chatbot, but the weirdness of the person on the other end. And that as AI colonizes some of the thin ways we've come to value ourselves, I think particularly through kind of productivity, that it's going to open space for more appreciation of the strangeness of human beings.
Yeah, I hope that that's going to happen. And I think that a lot of the work to make that case is already happening, that the stakes are high enough that everybody's playing their big game, which means that if you are on Team Human, as Douglas Rushkoff puts it, you got to play the full hand. It's now is the time to make the case, and also to recognize inside yourself who you are, what you are. Where does efficiency stop as a value in your life and something else take off? Can we articulate those values, whether they're interpersonal, whether they have to do with nature, whether they have to do with how we relate with our own selves, with our higher potential, with death, all of these sort of elements that are clearly kind of weird from a machine point of view. Look how these guys are behaving. Those things will become more visible. And I think that part of even the discourse around it is starting to raise these questions in really interesting ways, which is itself indicating something.
But ain't no use in sitting and wonder why, baby, if you don't know by now. Ain't no use in sitting and wonder why, baby, it'll never do somehow. When your rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm traveling on. Don't think twice, it's alright. Ain't no use in turning on your light, baby, the light I never know. There ain't no use in turning on your light, baby, I'm on the dark side of the road. But I wish there was something you would do or say, try to make me change my mind and stay. We never did too much talking anyway, so don't think twice, it's alright. There ain't no use in calling out my name, gal, like you never done before. There ain't no use in calling out my name, gal, I can't hear you anymore. I'm thinking and wondering, walking down the road. I once loved a woman, a child I'm told. I gave her my heart, but she wanted my soul. Don't think twice, it's alright. So long, honey, babe, where I'm bound, I can't tell. Goodbye's too good a word, babe, so I'll just say fare thee well. I ain't saying you treated me unkind, you could have done better, but I don't mind. You just kinda wasted my precious time. Don't think twice, it's alright. Don't think twice, it's alright.